Welcome everyone to another episode of the Train Studio. Your host, Sean Morris. Today on the Train Studio, we're going to be working on the rocks that are going to go on the Halo diorama. These are going to be a really simple step, and typically I wouldn't necessarily use a wash for this, but in this case I am going to use a wash just because I said I was going to make these really simple, kind of out of the bottles, like step one, step two, finished product type of situation. So with these, just full disclosure, you can probably make your own mixes, but I do love Vallejo washes, so I'm going to go ahead and use them in this particular case. If you are making your own, you're going to want to pick your particular color paint, whatever your favorite paint is, and you're going to want to dilute it quite heavily, like 16 to 1, 12 to 1, something in there. And then you're going to want to have an overall black wash that's going to be heavily diluted. And that one probably going to be like a 20 to 1. And that's just kind of a unifying wash that you can kind of constantly keep applying until you build up the shadows and the depth that you're looking for. In this case, I have not diluted any of these, and I'm just going to show you straight out of the bottle why and how to use them. So here I have some light gray. Here I have some wash effects, and this is an older bottle, so it's going to come in a bottle like just this one. This is dark gray, and this is dark green. I'm using the green because I do want to bring in some of those earthy tones. I am probably going to do some moss effect on this rock here as well, because it does have this kind of nice flat side. So you will make a mess, again, working on a table, working on some area where you don't care, and or you can clean up. So full disclaimer there, I don't want to get you guys in trouble wherever you're working, whether it's kitchen table or otherwise. But I'm just going to go ahead and start putting them on. Now we are going to use the leopard spotting technique for this, and that's just where you sort of put it on in different spots and let the wash run over your cast stones. These are cast with Ultracal, and so they are nice and dry and rock hard at this point, even though they are not rocks, so they're lightweight. And this is a porous material, so it will absorb the washes in different opaquenesses based on the pores and based on basically the saturation that I put on these. So I'm going to kind of do them similar, but we're not going to have similar rocks in the end because of all those variables that I just talked about. I'm just going to use a brush, not a huge brush, not to anything too big, but something that's going to pick up both the ink as well as being able to give me some heft to move around some of the washes when they're on there. I am going to have this saturated with some water just off camera here, just to make sure that my brush stays nice and wet. Doesn't matter the order that you go here in the case of dark and light gray. I would say let's keep the green for afterwards so that we can really kind of pick out some tonal variations. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come into the light gray, just get some on my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and just pick a few different points on the stone and just go ahead and let the wash kind of flow over it. Now this is the light, so it's not going to be that much different. And what I want to do now is I just want to go back and just grab some water, and not any more of the wash, but I'm just going to come back to those points and resaturate some of that wash, and then go ahead and just start letting it dilute a little bit over the stone. So I'm just rehydrating those same points. Leopard spotting is done in a lot of different ways. Some people just kind of let it constantly flow over the stone. I actually like to get the whole stone saturated my first go around here with the first color. That way the next color that goes on does have a bit of a path to follow and will flow over some of the wetter portions. Sorry, my fingers are kind of in the way on the small one, but again, I'm just moving that around. We're not done, obviously, but I'm just going to bring this up to the camera so you can kind of see. It definitely does have a stone look, and it definitely has some color, and you can see in these low spots where some of that gray has settled out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come over here to the dark gray, get some of the dark gray, and I'm just going to hit some different points. And in this case here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on some areas that I didn't just put down the light gray. Now I'm going to come back with my wet brush and do this all over again. Again, lots of water is fine here. The more water you bring in, the more dilution. You will probably thin out some of the concentration of those thicker points. that you just put down, which is fine. I'm just going to smooth over the entirety of this stone. Lots of saturation, and just let it get really, really wet. This is another reason why doing the stone sort of off the base might be a good idea. We didn't really want to rehydrate our DOS clay that we had there, nor do we want to get any of this moisture kind of on the piece. Now you can certainly control this. I could have a piece of paper towel and be sopping up any of the wet moisture that's coming off, but you can see here we have both stones looking fairly uniform in the sense that they got some of the colors, but certainly not in the same sort of pattern. Now, what I'm going to do here before I come back in with the green, I'm actually going to come back to my light, and I'm just going to hit the stone again now that it's really saturated, and just give it another sort of brush over here. And again, coming back in with my water and diluting my stone again. And you can see what happens here. The more layers or the more levels of wash that you bring in, the more sort of uniform your stone will look, in the sense that it will get a little bit more gray, it'll get a little bit darker, and that's where you're going to start to get sort of that more stone-like look. If you wanted to leave it a bit more white, then obviously less layers. If you want to leave it darker in spots, then less water. But you can see that I'm sort of using that to constantly saturate over those. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to tap off the bottom, just off camera here. I just have a paper towel or a piece of cloth. I'm just going to give that a little wipe so we can clean up the space. And I'm going to go ahead and set those down. Actually, I'll put them in my hand and bring them up to the camera here again, just so you can see stones. When they dry, this is going to soak into the hydrocal as well. So please note that these will soften pretty significantly in overall color. Okay, let's get a little creative here and come in with now our green wash. Just going to grab some of this. Now this I'm going to use a little bit more sparingly and a little bit more strategically. So I mentioned before I'm going to have kind of that mossy touch on this side. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to sort of start mossing up this side of the stone. Then I'm going to grab a little bit more, come over here, and I'm going to moss. This one is going to go right in the center of the puddle. And so I'm going to actually hit the top of this one a bit. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my watered brush and move a little bit of that mossy goodness around. This one here, again, it's going to sit in the center of that puddle. So I'm going to move it around a little bit more on this one and have it a little less concentrated. This one here, I'm going to come over to this side now because I didn't do anything here. And I'm going to hit the bottom of this. And I'm going to kind of hit the bottom pretty heavily on this side, because I want that to be that sort of diluted effect. And then here, you'll notice I actually worked up on the stone. So start at the bottom, and I'm actually just pushing it up onto the portion of the rock here, because I wanted the moss to sort of creep up. And then I want to come in here and just hit that bottom again a little bit. Come over here, sort of redefine some of those areas that I already put in. And here I'm actually going to just sprinkle it on. And then in this case, I'm going to leave it and not dilute it anymore. I'm going to come back to the top of the stone over here now that I've moved a little bit. And then I'm just going to redeposit a little bit of that on the top there as well. And just going to soak up a little bit of that, a little bit harsh. There we go. Okay, and I hate to say like it's easy, because it is, but I also don't want to undersell the look. Easy doesn't have to be hard, and hard it doesn't have to be difficult in terms of process. Hard can just be, it's a matter of knowing the knowledge, knowing the steps, And then once you have it, it moves back into the easy category for sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to let these now fully dry. And then we're going to come and put them on the dio. We're not quite done with them. We are going to use a bit of pigment on there as promised, but hopefully that came out looking okay for you guys. I'm just moving around to catch the different light here just to really give you the look. But a few minutes work, guys. Few products. Like I said, if you own a gray paint, if you own a dark gray paint, and in fact, if you own a gray paint and a black paint, you'll be fine. And then a color, it could be green, it could be a different color, but really, I cannot recommend a green wash enough. You're not going to use it for a ton of things, but it's really nice to kind of bring that environmental look in. If we were doing a wood effect, and you have some trees or some boards, or you want to make something look environmentally worn, a green is a really, really nice touch for that. So don't undersell yourself, guys, on picking up a bottle of green. Even if you never use it, let's justify the purchase by how valuable it is, not by the quantity that you use, and not that you use the bottle, as quick as everything else. Sometimes the best stuff you have is stuff you use the very sparingly. All right, guys, I'm going to power through. Clearly, I need to get a drink of water. Too much talking, I think, in the videos today, but hopefully that is looking good enough for you guys to consider giving it a try, and I really do hope that you do. So we're going to leave these. They are going, like I said, they're really going to lighten up, and you can already see that that's starting to saturate in. It will look really, really nice as well as it dries, because that opaqueness of the black will stay there. The lightness of the stone will come back through. The green will be there, and it will look really, really sharp. This one in the puddle is going to look fantastic. I can't wait to put that in there, and then we'll do some other effects to really make these look the part. So stay tuned, guys. Hopefully you enjoy that. Part 3, part 4 coming up. Stay tuned. Cheers.